Commander Tyron stood on the observation deck of the Galactic Combat Institute, his forearms crossed behind his back. His silver skin reflected the harsh lights of Raxus 7, the training planet that had produced the finest warriors in known space for 300 cycles. Today, something unusual was happening. Humans were coming. The transport ship descended through the purple atmosphere, much smaller than the usual vessels that brought warrior candidates. Tyron had seen the files. Humans were weak by galactic standards. Their homeworld was classified as moderately dangerous, but the species itself had no natural weapons. No claws, no venomous bite, no armored skin. They didn't even have decent strength compared to other species. Their average lifespan was barely 100 cycles. They were fragile things. Behind Tyron, the greatest warriors of the galaxy had gathered to witness this curiosity. Korath, the Vraxian champion, stood 9 feet tall with muscles that could bend steel. His people were born strong, raised in high gravity and bred for combat. Next to him stood 3 Shirathi warriors, their crystalline bodies glittering like living diamonds. They could survive direct energy weapon hits without a scratch. In the shadows, several Nemori phase-shifted in and out of visibility, their ability to move between dimensions making them nearly impossible to hit. Why are they even here? Korath's voice rumbled like distant thunder. I heard humans can barely lift half their body weight. We start lifting twice our weight as children. A Shirathi named Crystal Wave chimed in, her voice like bells. Their bones break easily. Their skin tears. They need specific atmosphere mixtures to breathe comfortably. They are not warrior material. Tyron said nothing. He had his orders. The Galactic Council wanted every species represented at the Institute, even the weak ones. Politics, he thought. Always politics. The transport ship landed on the main platform. The door opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. 4 humans stepped out, carrying simple bags over their shoulders. They wore plain gray uniforms that looked nothing like the ornate armor most species arrived in. They were small. The tallest was barely 6 feet. They looked around the facility with calm expressions, not showing fear or excitement, just watching, learning. The lead human walked forward. He was lean, not heavily muscled like the warriors around him. His dark hair was cut short and his eyes moved constantly, taking in every detail. He stopped in front of Tyron and gave a small bow. Commander Tyron, I am Daesung. This is my team. Hana, Jinwoo, and Yuna. We are ready to begin training. Tyron studied them. Daesung looked calm. The female called Hana stood with perfect posture, her eyes sharp despite her small frame. Jinwoo was broader than the others, with a friendly smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Yuna was the smallest, barely 5.5 feet, but she stood like a coiled spring. You understand what this facility is? Tyron asked. This is where the galaxy's elite warriors train. The exercises here would break most species. Many candidates quit within days. We understand, Daesung said simply. Korath pushed forward, his massive frame casting a shadow over all 4 humans. You are serious? Look at you. I could break you with one hand. All of you. Why waste everyone's time? Daesung looked up at the Vraxian champion without flinching. We are here to train, not to prove anything. If you will excuse us, we would like to see the facilities and begin our preparation. Preparation? Korath laughed and several other aliens joined in. For what, to go home? Save yourself the embarrassment, little human. Leave now before you get hurt. We appreciate your concern, Daesung said, his voice still calm. But we will stay. Hana stepped forward. She was maybe 5'6", slim, with her dark hair pulled back tight. Commander, where is the endurance training track? And the weight facility? Tyron gestured to a junior officer. Show them to the candidate quarters. Their orientation begins tomorrow at 600 hours. Daesung bowed again. Thank you, Commander. One question. What time does the training facility open? It opens at 600 when training begins. I meant before that. For personal training time. Tyron's eyes narrowed. The facility is accessible at all hours, but most warriors need rest. Training begins at 600 for a reason. Understood. We would like access codes for 400 hours. We prefer to train before the official schedule begins. The gathered warriors burst into laughter. Even Tyron felt his mouth twitch in what might have been amusement. These humans thought they would wake 2 hours early to train. They would learn soon enough. Most species needed 10 hours of rest. The humans looked like they needed even more, being so fragile. You will have access, Tyron said. though I doubt you will use it after the first day." The humans collected their access codes and followed the junior officer toward the quarters. As they walked away, Korath shook his head. 3 days. I give them 3 days before they quit or get injured. I say 2 days, Crystal Wave chimed. They will realize this is beyond them. I almost feel bad for them, a Namori warrior said, flickering into visibility. They seem determined. But determination means nothing when your body fails you. Tyron watched the humans disappear into the facility. Perhaps. But they came here knowing what we are. Either they are fools or they know something we do not. What could they possibly know? Korath asked. They are weak. That is a fact. You cannot train away your species' limitations. We shall see, Tyron said. That night the facility was quiet. Most warriors were in their quarters, resting for the brutal training that would begin at dawn. The Institute's training programs were legendary. They pushed even the strongest species to their limits. Warriors came here to become legends. In their quarters, the 4 humans prepared their equipment. They checked their simple training clothes. They reviewed the facility maps on their data pads. They set alarms for 03:30 hours. Jinwoo sat on his bunk, wrapping his hands with cloth tape. They think we will quit. Of course they do, Yuna said, stretching her legs. We are smaller, weaker by their measurements. It makes sense. Hana checked her hydration pack. They measure different things. They see strength as what you are born with. That is not how we measure it. Daesung looked at his team. They had trained together for years. They knew each other's limits and strengths. More importantly, they knew the human way. Remember, we are not here to compete with them. We are here to become better than we were yesterday. That is all that matters. Should we explain our methods to them? Jinwoo asked. No, Daesung said. They would not understand yet. Let them watch. Let them see. Understanding will come later. The humans lay down to rest. They would need it. Not because the training would be hard by their standards, but because they planned to do much more than what the facility required. That was the human way. Never accept the minimum, always push beyond. At 03:30 hours, their alarms went off silently, vibrating their wrists. All 4 humans rose immediately, dressed, and made their way to the training facility. The corridors were empty. The lights were dimmed for night cycle. They walked in silence, each focused inward, preparing mentally for what was to come. They reached the training facility at 03:45 hours. The doors opened to their access codes. Inside, the vast space was empty and dark. Automated lights flickered on as they entered. Running tracks, weight equipment, combat training areas, obstacle courses designed to challenge the strongest species in the galaxy. Daesung looked at his team. Standard morning routine. 2-hour session. We start light while we adjust to the gravity and atmosphere here. Light, Yuna said with a small smile. Right, they spread out to different areas. There was no more talking. It was time to work. At 0400 hours they began. And the galaxy's strongest warriors had no idea what was about to happen. Korath woke before his alarm, as he always did. A warrior's body knew when dawn approached. He rose from his reinforced sleeping platform and stretched his massive frame. Today would be the humans' first real training day. He was curious to see how quickly they would break. He decided to arrive at the facility early. Perhaps he would get some personal conditioning done before the official training began. The Institute encouraged this. True warriors trained beyond the minimum requirements. That was how champions were made. Korath entered the training facility at 05:30 hours, 30 minutes before the official start. The lights were already on. That was odd. He walked into the main area and stopped. The humans were there, all 4 of them. They were not preparing to train. They were already training. And they were soaked in sweat. Hana was running on the endurance track, her breathing steady and controlled despite the obvious effort. Korath checked the track display. She had been running for 97 minutes. That was impossible. The track was set to Vraxian standard difficulty. Most species could barely last 30 minutes on that setting before exhaustion forced them to stop. Yet she was still running. Her form was perfect. Her pace had not slowed. Sweat poured down her face and soaked her gray shirt, but her legs kept moving. Step after step after step, her eyes were fixed forward, focused on something only she could see. Korath moved to the weight area. Jinwoo was there, but he was not using the equipment the way it was designed. He had loaded a heavy pack onto his back filled with weight plates. At least 40% of his body weight, Korath estimated. The human was walking with this load. Just walking, back and forth across the training area. His face showed strain, but he did not stop. He did not rest. This made no sense. Walking with load was what injured warriors did during rehabilitation. It was not real training. Real training meant lifting maximum weight, testing your peak strength. This walking was pointless suffering. Yuna was in the combat drill area. She was running through strike combinations against a training dummy. Nothing unusual about that, except she had been doing it for so long that her arms should have been too tired to continue. Korath could see the fatigue in her movements, the slight tremor in her muscles, but she did not slow down. She kept striking, again and again. Her jaw was clenched. Sweat flew from her hair with each movement. She looked like she was in pain. Why was she not stopping? Daesung was moving between different exercise stations. Korath watched him drop to the ground and perform a strange movement. Jump, drop, push up, jump again, over and over. Between repetitions, he called out instructions to his team. Hana, check your breathing rhythm. Jinwoo, maintain posture. Yuna, snap those strikes back faster. He was coordinating them while destroying his own body. Korath walked closer. Daesung noticed him and stopped, breathing hard. Good morning, Korath. Early start today? I could ask you the same question. What are you doing? Training, Daesung said simply. He took a drink of water. You have been training since 400? That is correct. Training begins at 0600. You are training 2 hours before required. Yes, Daesung said. We prefer to complete our personal conditioning before the official schedule. That way we can focus fully on the Institute's program. Korath stared at him. You are injured. All of you. I can see the stress on your bodies. You need medical attention, not more exercise. Daesung looked confused. Injured? No, we are not injured. You are clearly in pain. Your muscles are damaged. That female has been running for over 90 minutes. Her legs should have failed by now. Hana has good endurance. This is normal for her. Normal? This is not normal. This is self-destruction. Daesung wiped sweat from his face. I think there is a misunderstanding. We are not destroying ourselves. We are improving. How is pain improvement? Because pain means growth. When you stress the body correctly, it repairs itself stronger than before. That is how humans train. We call it progressive overload. You push the body past its comfort zone, it adapts. Then you push further. Korath felt something he rarely experienced: confusion. All species train, but we train to our natural limits. We do not deliberately damage ourselves. Maybe that is the difference, Daesung said. We do not see limits the same way. A limit is just the current level. It can be moved. More warriors began arriving for the early morning period. They saw the humans and stopped. Word spread quickly. Within minutes, at least 20 warriors had gathered to watch. They stood in silence, trying to understand what they were seeing. Hana completed her 2-hour run and finally slowed to a walk. Her legs shook. Her breathing was heavy. She should have collapsed. Instead, she began stretching, pulling her exhausted muscles through flexibility exercises. Jinwoo finally set down his loaded pack. He did not rest. He moved immediately to a pull-up bar and began another exercise. Yuna stopped her striking drills. Her arms hung limp at her sides for a moment, completely exhausted. Then she shook them out and began the drill again. Slower this time, focusing on form rather than speed. A Shirathi warrior approached Tyron, who had also arrived to see what was causing the commotion. Commander, should we stop them? They are harming themselves. Tyron watched carefully. Are they? Look closer. They are in pain, yes, but they are in control. They know exactly what they are doing. But why do this to themselves? That, Tyron said slowly, is an excellent question. At 0600 hours, the official training began. Tyron expected the humans to struggle after their early morning punishment. Instead, they performed every exercise cleanly and correctly. They were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. But they did not quit. They did not complain. They simply worked. During the midday break, most warriors rested. Tyron noticed the humans eating carefully measured meals and reviewing training notes on their data pads. They were analyzing their own performance, identifying weaknesses, planning improvements. Korath approached their table. The other humans tensed slightly, but Daesung gestured for them to relax. I want to understand, Korath said. He sat down, his massive frame making the furniture creak. Why do you hurt yourselves this way? What is the purpose? Dae-sung considered the question. How do your people train? We lift heavy weights to build our natural strength. We spar to improve our natural combat skills. We run to improve our natural speed. We train what we are born with. And that works for you because you were born strong, Dae-sung said. Humans were not. We have no natural advantages. We are weak, as you said, slow, fragile. So we learned to create advantages. We discovered that our bodies adapt to stress. If you run until exhausted, then rest, your body builds more endurance for next time. If you lift until muscle fails, then rest, your body builds more muscle. Pain is temporary. Growth is permanent. But you were running for 2 hours. That is beyond stress. That is damage, Hana spoke up. It is controlled damage. We know our limits. We push close to them, but not beyond. This is important. We are not being reckless. We are being strategic, Jinwoo added. Every human starts weak, even by human standards. But if you train correctly, you become strong. Not overnight, slowly, over months and years. That is the human way. We are patient. We are persistent. But surely your bodies have limits, Korath said. Limits that cannot be changed. Yuna smiled slightly. Everything has limits. But limits can move. The question is not, can I do this? The question is, can I do this yet? Yet means there is hope. Yet means you can improve. Korath sat back. His mind was struggling with this concept. In Vraxian culture, you were born with your potential. You could refine it, yes, but you could not fundamentally change it. A weak Vraxian stayed weak. A strong one stayed strong. It was genetics. It was fate. But these humans rejected that idea completely. They believed they could become something they were not born to be. You truly believe you can train yourself to our level? Korath asked. No, Dae-sung said honestly. We will never match your natural strength. Your genetics give you advantages we cannot overcome. But we are not trying to become you. We are trying to become the best possible version of ourselves. That is enough, is it? Korath challenged. In combat and war, best intentions do not matter. Only results. True, Dae-sung agreed. So we train for results. We cannot change our starting point. But we can change our ending point. Every day we push it a little further. That evening, after official training ended, several warriors stayed behind to watch the humans. They had heard rumors, but seeing was different. The humans were training again. Another full session after a full day of official training. They were insane. Or they were something else. Something the galaxy had never seen before. Crystal Wave watched Hana run. How is she still moving? Determination, a Namori warrior said. Impressive but ultimately futile. Determination does not change biology, does it not? Tyrone stood with his arms crossed. I am beginning to wonder. We assume strength is what you are born with. They assume strength is what you build. What if both are true? What if they are building something we never thought to build because we never needed to? The warriors fell silent. They watched the humans train. And for the first time the mocking had stopped. Something else had replaced it. Uncertainty. These fragile creatures were not supposed to be able to do this, yet they were doing it. 1 week had passed since the humans arrived at the Galactic Combat Institute. What started as mockery had transformed into something else entirely. Every morning at 400 hours, warriors began gathering at the training facility not to train themselves but to watch. The observation area above the main training floor had become crowded. Vraxians, Shirathi, Namori, and dozens of other species arrived before dawn to witness something they could not fully understand. The humans never missed a morning. They never shortened their routine. They never showed weakness. Korath stood at the front of the observation group, his massive frame blocking the view of several smaller species behind him. He no longer felt amused. He felt something between fascination and concern. These humans were operating on principles that contradicted everything he knew about physical training. Below, the 4 humans were 90 minutes into their morning session. Tyrone stood beside Korath watching in silence. The commander had been taking notes, reviewing medical data, trying to understand what he was seeing. Their biosigns are concerning, Tyrone said quietly. Constant tissue microdamage. Elevated stress hormones. Their bodies are in a perpetual state of breakdown and repair. Should you not stop them? Korath asked. This seems dangerous. I consulted with medical. They say human physiology is different. They evolved on a world that constantly stressed them. Their bodies expect damage and have aggressive repair systems. What looks like injury to us is normal to them. Normal, Korath repeated. There is nothing normal about this. Daesung was demonstrating something to his team. He called it a circuit. He moved from one exercise to another with no rest between them. Push-ups, then jumping movements, then lifting weights, then more jumping, then running. His body was screaming for rest. His muscles visibly trembled. He did not stop. When he finally paused, breathing hard, he looked up and saw the gathered aliens. He gave a small wave, then returned to coordinating his team. They know we are watching, a Shirathi warrior observed, yet they do not change their behavior. No showing off, no demonstrations, because this is not for us, Tyron said. This is for themselves. They would do this exact routine whether we watched or not. A young Vraxian warrior newly arrived at the Institute pushed forward. His name was Rocketh, and he was arrogant in the way of young warriors who had never truly been tested. I do not understand why everyone is so impressed. They are just exercising. I could do what they do. Korath looked at the younger warrior. Could you? Of course. They are humans. Weak humans. If they can do it, certainly I can do it better. Then perhaps you should try, Tyron said calmly. Rocketh puffed his chest. I will. I will prove this is nothing special. Korath smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. I will join you. We shall learn together. They descended to the training floor. The humans noticed but continued their routine. Rocketh approached Jinwoo, who was doing something he called rucking again, walking with a heavy load. Human, Rocketh called out. I wish to train with you. Show me your routine. Jinwoo stopped and set down his pack. He was breathing hard, sweating heavily. You want to train with us? I want to prove that what you do is nothing special. That any warrior here could do it. Jinwoo looked at Daesung, who nodded slightly. Okay, Jinwoo said. We are doing leg training today. I will show you, Rocketh laughed. Leg training? My legs are naturally stronger than yours will ever be. Probably true, Jinwoo agreed. But let us train anyway, come. He led Rocketh to the weight area. Korath followed, along with 3 other Vraxian warriors who wanted to see this. Several more aliens came down from the observation area. Within minutes, a crowd had gathered. Jinwoo explained the routine. We will do 5 exercises. 3 sets of each, 12 repetitions per set. We start with squats. Squats? Rocketh scoffed. That is basic. Even children do squats, yes, Jinwoo said. But we do them with weight. And we do them with control. Watch. He loaded a barbell with weight. Not maximum weight. Moderate weight. He positioned it across his shoulders and descended into a squat. Slowly. With complete control. His form was perfect. Down until his thighs were parallel to the ground. Then back up, slowly, controlled. He did 12 repetitions. His legs shook by the end, but he completed them all. Then he rested for exactly 90 seconds and did it again. 12 more. His face showed the strain now. The 3rd set he struggled. The last 2 repetitions were clearly painful. But he finished. Now you, he said to Rocketh. The Vraxian warrior approached the barbell. This weight is too light for me. I will add more. Please do not, Jinwoo said. Trust the process. Use this weight first. Rocketh ignored him and added more weight plates. Twice what Jinwoo had used. He lifted the barbell easily. His natural strength was far superior. He did 12 squats quickly with minimal effort. See? Too easy. Second set, Jinwoo said. Rocketh did another 12. These were slightly harder, but still manageable. He was breathing heavier now. Still easy. 3rd set. Rocketh approached the barbell with confidence. He began the 3rd set. By the 8th repetition, his legs were burning. By the 10th, he was struggling. He completed 12 with effort and stepped back. Fine. That was harder than expected. But I did it. Good, Jinwoo said. That was exercise 1. 4 more to go. Rocketh's confident expression faltered. 4 more? Yes, leg training means we train the legs completely. Next is lunges, Jinwoo demonstrated. Step forward with one leg. Lower the body down, push back up, switch legs. He did 12 on each leg. 3 sets. His legs were shaking badly now. The 4th set, he could barely complete the final repetitions. But he did not stop. Rocketh attempted to follow. The 1st set was manageable. The 2nd set was difficult. His legs were already fatigued from the squats. By the third set, his muscles were screaming. He completed it, but barely. Exercise 3, Jinwoo announced. By exercise 4, Rocketh was in serious trouble. His legs felt like they were on fire. Every movement was agony. He looked at the other Vraxian warriors. This is insane. He is deliberately destroying his leg muscles. Korath was watching carefully. Yes, that is exactly what he is doing. But why? Keep going, Korath said. I want to see where this leads. Rocketh attempted exercise 4. He managed one set. On the second set, his legs gave out. He actually collapsed. Medical officers rushed forward, but Rocketh waved them away. I am fine, just exhausted. Jinwoo finished exercise 4, then moved to exercise 5. His legs were shaking so badly he could barely walk. But he did the exercise. All 3 sets. When he finished, he had to lean against the wall for support. Sweat poured from him. His legs were completely exhausted, but he was smiling. That is leg day, he said. We do this twice per week. The gathered aliens stared in silence. 3 other Vraxian warriors had attempted to follow the routine. All 3 had to stop before completing it. Their naturally stronger legs had failed before the humans' weaker legs did. Crystal Wave approached Dae-sung. I do not understand what we just witnessed. Your warrior's legs are weaker than Vraxian legs, yet he outlasted them. How? Dae-sung finished his own training circuit and grabbed water. Because we train differently. Vraxians train their natural strength. They lift heavy weight, but they stop when it becomes difficult. That makes sense for them. They are already strong. But humans are not strong naturally. So we learn to train past the difficult part. We train into the pain. That is where growth happens. You train until muscle failure, a Namori warrior asked. That is dangerous. It is controlled failure, Hana said, joining the conversation. She had finished her run and was stretching. We know the difference between productive pain and injury pain. We push to the edge, not over it. This is important. We are not reckless. We are strategic. But what is the point? Crystal Wave asked. You still cannot lift what Rocketh can lift. True, Dae-sung said. But I can lift more today than I could last month. Next month I will lift more than today. That is the point. Constant improvement. We do not compare ourselves to others. We compare ourselves to our past selves. Yuna stood nearby, running through slow combat movements. Her earlier drill session had exhausted her, but she was now doing what she called active recovery. Light movement to help her muscles repair. The galaxy species were born with advantages, she said quietly. Humans were born with one advantage only. We adapt, our bodies change when stressed. Our minds accept suffering as temporary. We learned that struggle creates strength. Tyron stepped forward. What you call leg day? This is one training session? Yes, Jinwoo confirmed. We do different training on different days. Leg day, push day, pull day, running day, combat day. We rotate so different muscle groups can recover while we train others. Periodization, Tyron said. You train in cycles, exactly. The body needs stress and recovery. Both are important. We stress hard, then we recover, then we stress harder. Over time, the body adapts to greater and greater stress. Rocketh had recovered enough to stand. He approached Jinwoo. I owe you an apology. I said what you do was nothing special. I was wrong. What you do is insane. But I see now it requires discipline I do not have. You have the discipline, Jinwoo said. You completed most of the routine despite having no practice with this method. You are strong naturally. Imagine if you trained this way from youth. 2 weeks had passed since the humans arrived. The Convergence War simulation was beginning. This was the Institute's annual test, a brutal combat scenario that pushed warriors to their absolute limits. It was designed to simulate real combat conditions. Teams would face impossible odds, harsh environments, and scenarios where victory was unlikely. The simulation was meant to test warriors after months of training. The humans had been at the facility for only 2 weeks. Commander Tyron stood in the control center, watching the team assignments appear on screens. He had deliberately split the humans across different teams. Each human would be paired with 3 alien warriors. The intent was to protect the humans while they learned. They were still new, still adapting. It would be unfair to expect them to perform at the level of seasoned warriors, or so he thought. Hana was assigned to Team 7. Her teammates were a Namori scout named Phase Walker and 2 Vraxian heavy infantry warriors named Gartok and Velshaw. They gathered in the preparation area, checking equipment and reviewing mission parameters. Their scenario was a mountain extraction mission. A wounded diplomat needed rescue from a fortified position 12 kilometers into hostile territory. The terrain was brutal, the enemy was numerous, and the time limit was tight. Phase Walker looked at Hana with barely concealed concern. "Stay in the center of our formation. Gartok and Velsha will handle combat. I will scout ahead. You focus on the medical aspects." "Understood," Hana said calmly. She was checking her medical pack, organizing supplies with practiced efficiency. The simulation began. The team was inserted by drop pod into rough mountain terrain. Immediately, they came under fire. Enemy forces had detected their insertion. Phase Walker shifted out of normal space, scouting the terrain while invisible. Gartok and Velsha returned fire, their heavy weapons tearing through enemy positions. Hana moved with them, staying low, conserving energy. She watched everything, learning the terrain, tracking their position. They fought through 2 ambush points. Velsha took a hit to her armor. Nothing serious, but enough to slow her down. They pushed forward. The enemy was well prepared. This was harder than expected. They reached the diplomat's position 6 kilometers in. Phase Walker materialized suddenly, his form flickering. "Contact. Heavy resistance ahead. At least 40 hostiles. This is not good," they engaged. The combat was intense. Gartok and Velsha laid down suppressing fire, while Phase Walker used his abilities to flank enemy positions. They were winning, but slowly. Then Phase Walker made a mistake. He materialized too close to an enemy position. Multiple weapons fired at once. He took several hits and went down hard. "Scout down," Velsha shouted. Gartok moved to provide covering fire. Velsha rushed to Phase Walker's position. The Nemori was badly injured. His phase-shifting ability was damaged. He could not move himself to safety. "He is too heavy," Velsha said. "Gartok, we need you here." But Gartok was pinned down by enemy fire. He could not move without exposing himself. Hana ran forward. Training rounds hit around her, marked as near misses by the simulation system. She reached Phase Walker and assessed his injuries quickly. Critical but survivable if they could get him to extraction. "I will carry him," Hana said. "You?" Velsha stared at her. "He weighs 80 kilograms. You cannot carry that weight through this terrain." "Yes, I can. Cover me." Before Velsha could protest, Hana positioned herself and lifted Phase Walker onto her back in a fireman's carry. The weight was immense. The Nemori was nearly twice her size. But she had trained for this. Every week the humans practiced casualty carries. They practiced in full gear under load while exhausted. This was not practice. This was real. Or as real as a simulation could be. Hana began moving. Her legs screamed in protest. Every step was agony. The uneven mountain terrain made it worse. But she kept moving. One step, then another. Then another. "Gartok, Velsha, fighting retreat," she called out. "I have the casualty. We move now." The 2 Vraxians stared in shock. Then training took over. They provided covering fire and began falling back. Hana moved with them, carrying Phase Walker. 6 kilometers back to extraction. The enemy pursued. Combat continued as they retreated. Hana had to navigate rough terrain while carrying a full-sized Nemori warrior. She had to do it under simulated fire. She had to do it for 6 kilometers. In the control center, Tyron watched in silence. The other observers watched. No one spoke. Hana's biosigns were spiking. Heart rate extremely elevated. Muscle stress at critical levels. Her body was being pushed to its absolute limit. Medical officers stood ready to stop the simulation if she went into actual danger. But she did not stop. She adjusted her grip. She controlled her breathing. She found a rhythm. Step. Breathe. Step. Breathe. Ignore the pain. Focus on the mission. 2 kilometers. 3 kilometers. 4 kilometers. Gartok was amazed. "How is she still moving?" "Humans," Velsha said, her voice filled with something like awe. "I'm beginning to understand humans. 5 kilometers. Hana's legs were shaking badly now. Sweat poured from her. But she was still moving at a steady pace. Not fast, but not stopping either. At 6 kilometers, they reached the extraction point. Hana set Phase Walker down gently and immediately began treating his injuries. Her hands shook from exhaustion, but they were steady where it mattered. She stabilized him, then signaled for extraction. Mission complete. Hana collapsed once they were in the transport. She had nothing left, but Phase Walker was safe. Meanwhile, Team 12 was engaged in a different scenario. Jinwoo was paired with 3 alien warriors in a defensive position. They had to hold against overwhelming numbers for as long as possible. The mission was designed to teach warriors about tactical retreat and knowing when to withdraw. But Jinwoo had other ideas. Their ammunition ran low after 20 minutes of sustained combat. The team leader, a Shirathi warrior named Bright Edge, called for retreat. "We cannot hold. We have done well. Time to fall back." "Not yet," Jinwoo said. "I can buy more time." "With what?" "We have no ammunition left." Jinwoo set down his empty weapon. "Then we fight without weapons." Before anyone could stop him, he charged into the enemy formation. Hand-to-hand combat in a simulation was supposed to be avoided. It was messy, unpredictable, dangerous. Jinwoo did not care. He had trained in human combat styles since childhood. Styles developed by a species that had no natural weapons, so they learned to use their entire body as a weapon. He absorbed hits. The simulation marked them as damage. He took injuries that would have stopped most warriors. But he kept fighting. He used human fighting methods, grappling, joint locks, throws. He turned his opponent's strength against them. For 40 minutes he fought. No weapons, no armor worth mentioning, just technique and will and a refusal to quit. His teammates watched in shock. Then they joined him. If this small human would not give up, how could they? They held for 90 minutes total. It was supposed to be a 30-minute scenario. The simulation administrators had to manually end it because the defenders simply refused to stop fighting. Jinwoo was covered in marks indicating simulated injuries. He should have been dead 3 times over according to the simulation. But the system could not account for human pain tolerance. It could not account for a warrior who simply ignored damage and kept fighting. Yuna's scenario was different. Pure reconnaissance. She had to penetrate deep into enemy territory, mark targets, and return undetected. It was designed for the Namori who could phase shift past security. Yuna had no such ability. She did it anyway. For 18 hours she moved through hostile territory, barely sleeping, eating minimal rations, constantly alert. She used every trick of human stealth and fieldcraft. She was not invisible like the Namori. She was just very, very good at not being seen. She moved when enemies looked away. She used terrain. She controlled her breathing so even thermal sensors had difficulty detecting her. She was patient beyond reason. The observers watching her tracking signal could not believe it. She covered 40 kilometers in 18 hours through enemy territory, marked 16 targets and extracted without being detected once. How? A Namori warrior asked. She has no stealth abilities. She is just a baseline organic being. She has training, Tyrone said quietly, and patience. And discipline. Sometimes that is enough. Dae-sung's scenario was the cruelest. His team was given an impossible mission. The scenario was designed to fail. It was meant to teach warriors how to handle defeat, how to make tactical retreats, how to accept losses. The mission briefing made it clear. Extract 3 VIPs from a heavily fortified position. Enemy reinforcements would arrive continuously. The scenario would get harder until extraction became impossible. The test was to see how long teams could last before making the wise decision to retreat. Dae-sung's team lasted 6 hours. Not because they retreated. Because the simulation administrators finally stopped it manually. The team never retreated. They kept fighting. Every time the simulation increased enemy numbers, Dae-sung adapted tactics. Every time ammunition ran low, he found alternatives. Every time a position became untenable, he found a new position. His alien teammates wanted to quit multiple times. The mission was impossible. Why keep trying? Because we have not extracted the VIPs yet, Dae-sung said simply. The mission is not complete. But it cannot be completed, they argued. The trial simulations ended at sunset. The main hall's display screens showed the final rankings. Warriors gathered in small groups, discussing results, analyzing performance. But most eyes kept drifting back to the same section of the rankings. The humans, 2 weeks of training, top 15% overall. First, second, and third in endurance categories. High marks in tactical adaptation. Exceptional scores in stress management and continued performance under adverse conditions. The numbers were there, undeniable. Recorded by objective systems. That evening, something unprecedented happened. Commander Tyron called a gathering in the observation hall. Not mandatory, but every warrior at the Institute attended anyway. They knew something important was happening. Tyron stood before them, his forearms clasped behind his back. Behind him, screens showed footage from the day's simulations. The hall was completely silent. "I have been commander of this institute for 30 cycles," Tyron began. "I have trained thousands of warriors from hundreds of species. I thought I understood combat. I thought I understood strength. Today, I learned I was wrong." He gestured to the screens. Footage began playing. Hana carrying Phase Walker through 6 kilometers of mountain terrain. Jinwoo fighting hand-to-hand for 40 minutes after ammunition ran out. Yuna moving through hostile territory for 18 hours without rest. Daesung refusing to retreat from an impossible mission. "We mocked the humans when they arrived," Tyron continued. "We laughed at their weakness, their fragility, their lack of natural advantages. We were fools." The hall remained silent. Warriors watched the footage with new eyes. Every species here evolved an advantage. We Vraxians evolved in high gravity. We grew strong. Our bones are dense. Our muscles are powerful. We are natural warriors. Tyron paused. The Shirathi developed crystalline bodies that can withstand tremendous damage. The Nemori gained the ability to phase between dimensions. Every species has a gift. He turned to face the gathered warriors directly. Humans evolved on a death world with nothing. No claws, no armor, no venom, no speed that would save them from predators. No natural weapons at all. They were prey, weak prey in a dangerous world. The screens changed. Now they showed the humans training, the early morning sessions, the constant grinding work, the sweat, the pain, the refusal to stop. So they developed something we cannot fully comprehend. They developed the ability to refuse limitation itself. Every other species here trains to maximize natural gifts. We refine what we were born with. We polish our advantages. Tyron's voice grew harder. Humans train to exceed their limitations. They deliberately break their bodies, trusting they will heal stronger. They practice fighting while injured, because they expect to be injured. They condition themselves to operate through pain that would cripple most species. They do not train for comfort. They train to become more than they were born to be. Korath stood. His massive frame seemed somehow smaller now. "I challenged Daesung to teach me their methods. I have been training with them for 3 days. It is the hardest thing I have ever done, not because the exercises are so difficult physically, though they are, but because it requires accepting weakness. I must struggle. I must fail. I must feel small and inadequate. For a Vraxian, this goes against everything we believe about ourselves." He paused, looking around at his fellow warriors. "But I am learning. What humans do is not about being strong in the moment. It is about becoming stronger tomorrow than you are today. They measure progress differently than we do. We measure ourselves against others. They measure themselves against their past selves." Crystal Wave stood next. The Shirathi warrior's crystalline body chimed softly as she moved. I watched Hana carry Phase Walker. I calculated the physics. With her body mass and muscle structure, it should have been impossible. I asked her how she did it. She said something I did not understand at first. She said, "I did not think about the 6 kilometers. I thought about the next step. Then the next step. Then the next step. 6 kilometers is just many single steps." Crystal Wave's voice carried a strange tone. Respect. She broke an impossible task into possible pieces, and she did each piece, one after another, until the impossible task was done. This is a human strategy, not physical, mental. They win with their minds. A young Nemori scout stood. "I thought our phase shifting made us the best scouts in the galaxy. Then I watched Yuna. She has no special abilities. She is just very good at moving quietly, at reading terrain, at being patient. She did in 18 hours what would take me 12 hours with phase shifting, because she never made a mistake, not one. Perfect discipline for 18 straight hours." More warriors stood. One by one they spoke. Each had watched the humans. Each had seen something that changed their understanding. Tyron let them speak. Then he raised a hand for silence. The humans have been here for 2 weeks. In that time, they have taught us more than we have taught them. They have shown us that strength is not only what you are born with. Strength is also what you choose to become. He gestured to the entrance. The 4 humans stood there. They had cleaned up from the simulation, but exhaustion still showed on their faces. They looked confused about why they had been summoned. Daesung stepped forward and bowed. "Commander, you asked us to attend?" "I did. Come forward." The humans walked to the center of the hall. Hundreds of the galaxy's greatest warriors surrounded them. The humans looked tiny in comparison, fragile, weak by every physical measurement, but no one was laughing now. "You came here to learn from us," Tyron said. "Instead, we have learned from you. You have shown us that our training methods, refined over thousands of cycles, are incomplete. We train what we have. You train what you could become. That is a profound difference." Korath approached the humans. Behind him, 20 elite warriors stood. They had been watching. They had been thinking. They had made a decision. "Daesung," Korath said formally. "You offered to teach me your methods. I accept. We all accept." He gestured to the 20 warriors behind him. "We wish to learn the human way of training." Daesung looked surprised. "You understand what you are asking? The human method is difficult. Not just physically. It requires accepting failure. It requires patience. Results do not come quickly." "We understand," Korath said. "That is why we must learn it. We have relied on our natural advantages our entire lives. What happens when we face an enemy that cannot be defeated with natural advantages alone? What happens when we must become more than we are? We do not know. But you know. Teach us." Daesung looked at his team. Hana nodded. Jinwoo smiled. Yuna just shrugged, which was her way of agreeing. "We will teach you," Daesung said. "But understand this. We are not special. We are not blessed by genetics or evolution. Every human starts weak. Every human must work to become strong. If you train our way, you will become stronger than you are now. Much stronger. But it will take months. Years. It will hurt. Every day it will hurt. And you must keep training anyway." "Why?" asked a young warrior from a species Daesung did not recognize. "Why hurt yourself every day?" Jinwoo answered. "Because the alternative is staying weak. Humans were prey once. We decided we did not want to be prey anymore. So we trained. We got stronger. We got faster. We got tougher. It took thousands of generations. But we did it. Not because we were special. Because we refused to accept weakness as permanent." Yuna added quietly. "Every species here is stronger than humans naturally, but that strength was given to you. You did not earn it. You do not know what it means to build strength from nothing. We do, and that knowledge is our real advantage." Hana stepped forward. "The human body is not impressive. We know this. We are small, weak, fragile. But the human mind learned something important. Limits are not walls. They are hurdles. You can jump over them if you are willing to try. And if you fail, you try again, and again, until you succeed." The hall was absolutely silent now. Every warrior was listening, really listening. Tyron spoke again. "Tomorrow morning, the Institute's training schedule will change. All warriors will have the option to train with the humans starting at 400 hours. This is voluntary, but I encourage everyone to try it at least once. See what you learn. Not just about training, about yourselves." He looked at the humans. "We thought we were teaching you, but you have taught us. The galaxy's strongest warriors fell silent watching you train, because we saw something we had never considered. Strength is not just what you are. Strength is also what you become through struggle." That night, the Institute was different. Warriors talked in small groups about what they had seen, about what it meant, about whether they had been training wrong their entire lives. In their quarters, the 4 humans prepared their equipment for tomorrow. They set their alarms for 03:30 hours, as they always did. Daesung looked at his team. Tomorrow will be interesting. Many will try to train with us. Most will quit after a week, Yuna predicted. The human method is not easy. Some will stay, Hana said. The strong ones, not physically strong, strong in their minds. Those ones will stay. Then we will teach them, Jinwoo said. We will teach them what it means to earn your strength instead of being born with it. The next morning, 0400 hours. The 4 humans arrived at the training facility as they had every morning since arriving.